So good evening, everyone. My name is Esther. I was here last week. I didn't see a couple of you. I know Thea mentioned some people were at BBC. Well,
Yep,
to those who attended BBC, how was it?
it's good. Very
Had a
good.
great time.
Well, that's good. Are there nuggets you want to share with us?
Use AI.
Yeah, I was gonna say AI was a big,
I
big thing.
I had
Um,
lots of fun with it. They had some excellent classes, and one of the best tips that I hadn't thought about when I was using it was when you write the prompt, ask it to ask you questions before it generates the response. So like say, hey, do this, but ask me questions to make your response better. And I found that to be a great way to use it.
those are
Sounds
very good.
interesting.
Good tip.
Thanks for sharing that. Well, for those of us that were not at BBC, we also learned something. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. I know a couple of people that were here last week. Is Kosi here?
Not yet.
Kosi is not here yet. I also had about two other people, but I guess we would start. So let me share my screen. I want to just assume that we had a great time last week. So we should have another great time today.
I can vouch for you, Esther. We had a good time.
Oh, thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, definitely. It was good session.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So, now today I'm gonna leave it open. What sections or what knowledge areas do you want us to try? I want us to, like, whatever knowledge area we pick, I want to add at least one technique, at least one of the techniques, or not the competencies now, but a mix to include techniques. So what do
Okay.
you want us to do today?
I think we mixed it like 7
Mhm.
and 8 last week. I think that's what we're supposed to be doing this week, but with whatever anybody else wants.
On your video, you guys, because I watched you guys' video, and yes, it looked like you guys were having a lot of fun. You said 7 and 8 at the end, I believe. So,
Okay.
and then yeah,
Okay.
add some techniques would be good.
Okay. So 7 and 8, that would be RADD
Mm.
and what?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And solution evaluation.
Yep,
Mhm.
solution
Okay.
evaluation. Yep.
I want to try something. Add the techniques, but also add BAPM.
Okay.
Let's see, just like a refresher. And
Back.
last week I was like, oh, we're gonna solve 50 questions.
We
And
only
we
got
couldn't
through
even
3.
finish, exactly, we couldn't even finish 25. So let's see. Maybe, just maybe.
We had a
Okay,
lot of good discussion last week, though.
Mm-hmm.
It was very interesting to listen to.
thank you. Alrighty, let's start. Here we are. What is another name for lessons learned? Retrospective?
Retrospective.
Yeah.
Yep, A.
Yeah.
8.
That
Hey,
sounded unanimous.
Yep.
Are you sure it's not project review? Like we want to review the project or post-mortem even.
Not really.
Don't try to trick us, Esther.
I
that's
think
not
it's
BABOK.
retrospective.
Okay.
Postmortem, yeah.
Or maybe an autopsy or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
In some contexts, D can be true.
Yeah, well, maybe not in the Babok anyway.
No.
So let's see. Hmm. Okay, we did a good job. I love this. Are we ready?
Oh no.
Mhm.
You're assigned to a project to help re-engineer a bank's statement processing. Another team member showed you this diagram of what he had modeled. And he said the scope of the project is concentrated around the items shown. Last week, I remember one thing I emphasized is let's read the words and try to understand it before you take a look at the model. So it's a bank statement processing. This is the diagram that the team member modeled. And he has specifically told us that the scope of the project is concentrated around the items shown. However, you are not familiar with this type of diagram. Now, this is what the diagram looks like. I think I want to, yep, just a bit to make it more, yep. So this is what the diagram looks like. We have account number, account type, 110011, okay? This is what it looks like. Firstly, what kind of diagram is this?
Class diagram, possibly?
Who said that? Emo?
Okay. Yes.
Email.
Okay, does anybody have any thoughts?
I didn't hear what he said.
He said it's a class diagram.
Oh, I don't know. Looked like similar to the one we did last week, but I don't remember the name of it.
Yep. So it would actually also qualify as a class diagram. I'm trying to see if there are other examples of what a class diagram would look like. But most times this would actually go, even though it's not standard practice.
Okay.
Yep. So it says a different team member questions the post transactions and report transaction attributes in the transaction box. What is the correct response? So this is the post transaction and report transaction attributes. And all these are in the transaction bit. You can only have like anything that has to do with transactions. We know that we're sticking with anything more like the transaction class itself, the transaction section of this particular or this entire diagram. So anything transaction, definitely we have the post transaction and the report transaction, the transaction details, the amount, and the statement. This has the statement ID, statement date, period ending date. That's because it's a statement. The account type, the account. So it tells us what attributes are involved in each of the, I'll call it boxes now in this case. So a different team member, that's somebody that did not create this diagram, questions the post transaction and report transaction attributes. Now, what is the correct response? Says that the other teammate is incorrect because names below the line on a class diagram represent operations. The other teammate is incorrect because names below the line on a class diagram represent foreign keys. The other teammate is correct, and the two items are probably misnamed attributes. The other teammate is correct, and the two items are actually other classes related to the given class. Yep, it's a kind of question.
Yes, it is.
I have no idea, but I kind of like D.
Did
C
you
or
say
So,
D?
no, D as in, what
dog?
did Bob teach us? I already forgot.
Okay.
Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. Oh, Delta. D as in Delta.
Elf?
Yeah. I kind of like that one only because to me, I don't know class diagrams, but I think it's
Me
weird
either.
that it has like another box attached and not like a line. It's just set up in a weird way to me.
I was gonna agree with you because yeah, that doesn't seem right. And I thought D sounded the most logical, but then, that's not always right.
Yeah.
I was
Uh,
leaning towards A because post-transaction and report transaction seem like operations.
Yep, that's true actually.
And have you
I
ever
was waiting
thought,
for somebody to say that.
have you ever thought about if you have any object or any class, and if you need to inherit the attributes and the resources that you have in that class, like in the object-oriented diagrams?
The object-oriented diagrams, like this one.
Okay, actually, never mind.
Okay, let's just
That
take it
does.
a bit.
Aaron's got a good point there, Michelle.
Yeah,
Like if
you
you
don't have to follow me.
if you try to inherit the resources that you have in one class,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe that's a good technique.
Possibly, yes. Mm-hmm.
Irina's gonna have to break the tie.
So how to be understand class diagram? So the
Yay, Irina's here. She can break the tie.
I was trying to find an answer.
Yeah, I was
Google
gonna
an answer.
say.
I'm sorry.
There's actually
We didn't talk long
something.
enough to give you time.
There's actually something that should be taken out immediately from the 4 options.
Yeah.
There's one particular one of the options
So
that should be
C, eliminate C, probably misname attributes. I don't think so. It's the right answer.
Why do you think it's C?
No, eliminate C. No,
Eliminate C.
Yeah, why do you think we should eliminate C?
I don't like this misname attributes.
Oh,
It sounds very confusing for me. I would eliminate it.
okay.
And same with B because it's something represent foreign keys, which I don't think that's right either. So
Yep. So you have your foreign keys and your primary keys when we're dealing with databases like we did last week. So class diagrams have absolutely nothing to do with foreign keys. So B is automatically out. Now, if we click on the answer and it tells us it's B, I know there's a problem with this question, by the way. So, personally, I'm leaning towards D.
Operations. Well, let's choose this.
Yeah, but at the same time, feels like A.
A sounds good.
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, Aaron gives a good argument
Like
there.
if you need a child class,
Because
to
when you
utilize
have,
all the functionality in that class,
okay,
then that's a good technique, isn't it?
that's true. And another thing is in class diagrams where you have operations, they are actually the details below the line. So that's actually what is called an operation. And it feels like the operation comes, this is a transaction. So definitely you are, when the transaction happens, you're able to get a transaction report.
Yeah.
So it feels logical, but D also feels logical. So now it's not my question. So let's pick.
Oh, A.
Let's Oh, Irina, you're gonna go with A?
After discussion, yeah, I would pick A.
Okay. Well, I didn't tell anyone to pick A, by the way. Okay, so A or D, A or D.
You have more A's than D, but
A for Aaron. Am I
if I'm
pronouncing your
right,
name
then
correct?
everybody owes me something.
Aha! Let's do this.
Got
Yay! Got
Ooh.
it. Yep, class diagrams actually use that convention. So
So what do you owe us, Michelle?
I never
Yeah.
said I owed you guys anything.
okay, let's move on.
We will never forget this, especially during exam.
Yep. So just know that for class diagrams, because you could have class diagrams in your CBAP, class diagrams have absolutely nothing to do with foreign keys. When there is a line on a class diagram, you know that that's an operation. So an operation stems from that particular class. It might be something that comes up or that comes up after maybe that task or that particular state has been dealt with.
Okay.
So once you have that line, you have that, that's what is called operations. Then I would say the other teammate is correct and the two items are probably misnamed attributes. Well, the team member works in that organization. I don't think they're dealing with misnamed attributes because the names are logical.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move to the next question. Okay.
Based on the same scenario.
Yeah.
No, you didn't hit next. You hit
Yep,
check
like-
answer.
Yep, I
There we
was
go.
wondering.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, but it's still okay.
So, yeah, it's still a state diagram, nothing's changed. So it says the business expert wants to make sure that statements can be produced at least monthly or quarterly. What do you tell her? There is nothing in the model to limit how often statements are produced. Another type of model would be the one to dictate how often statements are produced. A business rule would state the timing of statement production, and you need to see other documentation to be sure. The business expert wants to make sure that statements can be produced at least monthly or quarterly. So
D.
let's take, you need to see other documentation. Okay, maybe, just maybe. Now let's go back to the class diagram. We have information about the account type. You have the account type, it's actually giving us, like, this is another diagram and another account type. Now, the transaction ID, yeah, it's on its own. Transaction date, transaction amount, this is the statement. So
It does not say anything. How frequently should we?
No, it doesn't.
That's why we need something extra to look at.
Okay. So we should go with D.
Delta.
Okay, check answer. Yay, that was good. Next. Which of the following are not types of estimation? Top-down and parametric, summation and Delphi, rolling wave and ROM, top-down and Delphi. They are not types of estimation techniques. Do we know what the estimation techniques are?
ROM? Can you remind me, please?
The ROM?
Rough order of magnitude. I think that's, let me confirm, but I think so. Yeah, it's rough order of magnitude. But let me double check. I think it's rough.
So maybe C is the correct answer.
Yes, rough order of magnitude. Yeah, I got that.
I would
D?
agree with that. I would think it would be C.
Okay, what's the estimation technique?
Top down. It's
Top down and parametric. I know
down.
there's top down, and I know there is the summation one. And I've heard Delphi before.
Okay, quick question. What knowledge area and task are we talking about?
This is a technique.
These are techniques, yeah.
Okay.
But we can associate all
I
the
think it's
techniques
B. I
with
don't think summation is a
with the task.
You don't
estimation
think
technique.
summation is one?
No.
But you think rolling wave and ROM is?
ROM is an estimation technique.
It is.
Yep.
Then maybe that is right.
Just a hint, parametric is also an estimation technique. Top-down is also an estimation technique.
Yeah, I knew top down was and parametric.
Is Delphi
Those
an
I've
estimation technique?
I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
It
Okay,
is.
so what's the
Probably
answer?
B. B as in Bravo?
So I would pick C.
And remember, we're not just picking one. It's top-down and parametric, summation and Delphi,
So,
rolling
Yeah,
wave,
yeah.
arrow,
Look, we
top-down
have
Delphi.
Delphi in both options. It makes
Right.
me
Mhm.
think that we can't eliminate one of Delphi. So maybe B and D are correct. And if you say that A is also correct,
Then C is the.
yeah, it's excluding other options. So
Mm.
Delphi is just present in both. And how can we eliminate one of them?
Did you guys say summation is a type?
I don't think it is. So I think the answer is B, is in Bravo.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Amazing.
Let's try.
I'm not sure if rolling wave itself is it's an estimation
Type.
technique.
Yeah.
That's what I'm also trying to check.
Mm.
Yeah,
Same.
okay.
So let's
B,
check.
because you have two top downs, two Delphis, cross them out, you're left with the rolling wave. That's what if I was guessing, that's what I would do.
Yeah, so, but I know summation is not.
That's what makes the question a little confusing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not one of them is, one of them isn't. Not.
So which do we go for?
I'll try to see. I don't know. I think we're B or C, but I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, let's try a B or C and see how it
Okay.
works.
Yeah.
So
let's
B
just try.
or C?
I vote for C.
Hmm.
C for
Rolling
Churchill.
wave is a project management technique where teams work within smaller waves or time periods to accommodate expected project changes. Doesn't seem like it's a project management technique. Okay, let's see what the answer is, but ROM there makes it dicey.
B.
Yeah, it's B. So yeah.
Summation. Aaron, boy, you're doing
Inverted.
really good tonight.
Good
But
to
there's
know.
a problem with this question because
Summation is an invented answer.
Delphi
It's confusing. Yeah.
is actually a technique. So if it was
Yeah.
summation and another thing, because top-down parametric, Delphi, rolling wave, ROM, top-down, bottom-up, and all that, they're all techniques. So it was really dicey
It's a trick
having
question.
it is.
Yeah, so that's confusing.
And I don't think the IIBA is going to trick us this way.
Hope
So,
not.
okay, let's see. Which technique would Nick employ to help identify the underlying cause of variances from what he expected? Employ to identify the underlying cause of variances from what he expected.
A root cause B.
Okay, another option. You
C.
could do peer review,
Variance analysis.
Peer review, like you tell me there's a problem. I tell you there's a problem. We're getting the underlying cause. Maybe. That's incorrect, by the way.
I probably agree with B. The underlying causes,
So it's
which to
between
me
B
means
and
you have to keep
C.
digging to get to the.
Right. So
So we're going with the nice RCA.
Yeah,
yeah.
because I don't think we have variance analysis as a technique. Otherwise, that could be the correct answer.
Yeah, it's RCA. So once you see the word underline, you're going to the foundation.
Yep.
And the variance analysis, for him to have identified that there were variances, it tells us that the variance analysis has been conducted. So here,
Can you check for the C if that is a technique in the BABOK at all?
okay, let's see. if it's going to let me click again. So it's not one of the stated techniques in Babok.
Otherwise, that could be the answer, because that could serve.
The truth is that cannot even be the answer, because he says, what technique would he employ to help identify
to understand the underlying reasons.
costs? That means the variance analysis has already been conducted. He already has his actual, and he already made his comparison from his actual and what was estimated. So there, an analysis has already been conducted. Now we want to know the why there is a variance. So let me go back to the correct answer. So sorry about that. Cancel. So we check answer and we go to next. As a BA, you are planning the business analysis approach to use in the current initiative you are working on. To ensure that all BA activities have been identified, which technique could you employ? As a BA, you are planning the BA approach to use in the current initiative that you're working on. To ensure that all BA activities have been identified, what technique could you employ? Brainstorming?
Not really.
Functional decomposition?
No way.
Work breakdown structure?
Work breakdown structure is not Babok.
Yeah,
It's not Babok, it's PMP.
that is for PMs, perhaps.
Yeah, it is. That's project
Item
management.
tracking?
That is the only option we left with.
Yeah, I like that one.
So we can track all the items that we have, and we have elicited during differentiations, so we can track it.
To what option?
D.
Delta.
Delta.
Delta? Okay.
Hopefully
Let's go.
Delta is aware of our study group, and we are advertised for Delta.
Yeah. I need to be a brand ambassador, by the way. So let's check it.
Ooh,
Wow,
brainstorming.
that's weird.
Yeah.
Brainstorm is using the planned business analysis approach task to
Oh,
identify
all have been
costs.
identified. Yeah.
To ensure that all BA activities have been identified.
Yeah.
Oh.
That makes
Again,
sense, yeah.
the word identified. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
We're thinking in this sense as making sure that all of them are, which is
Yeah.
I guess item tracking, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you change the identified to that all the activities has been addressed, then item tracking could make sense.
So item tracking is
track,
used to track any issues raised during planning activities. So let's go next. Which of the following techniques is used to ensure the identification of any required changes to the organizational structure that may have to be addressed due to a solution that's not providing the expected value? Used to ensure the identification of any required change to the organizational structure that may have to be addressed. When you see an organizational structure in the first place, what does it say? We're dealing with what? We're dealing with people.
Yep.
So that may have to be addressed due to a solution that's not providing the expected value. Process modeling.
I was gonna say A.
Organizational modeling.
Mm.
Observation. Which of the following techniques is used to ensure the identification of any required change to the organizational structure that may have to be addressed due to a solution that's not providing the expected value?
I'm between A and B, I think, because I like the modeling part of it.
Right.
I'm thrown off with the organizational part, so then it makes me think
Modeling.
it's B.
Because organizational modeling generally has to do with the roles and responsibilities and reporting
Process is making me
structures.
think it's that would be part of like a solution type thing, but so I'm between A
To
and
ensure
B.
the identification of any required changes to the organizational structure that may have to be addressed due to a solution, but it's a solution.
That does not provided the expected value.
Yeah.
But what we need to do is to ensure the
And now we need to change the organization, the organizational structure. Maybe we can go and see the organizational modeling and
yeah, I
change
feel like
the changes accordingly.
I feel like the second half of that question is what's throwing me off, and really it's asking us what technique would be used to ensure the identification of required changes. The rest is just fluff.
Okay. So maybe to help out, let me explain or define what an organizational modeling or what the organizational modeling is. It's basically, it's a technique that we use to basically understand the structure of an organization.
It's just give the answer, Esther.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You're
it'd be B then.
understanding the structure. I didn't say it was B.
Hopefully you will provide this kind of help during the examination.
So what do we want to try?
But
Oh, my
organizational
video has been
modeling,
off.
it helps align those structure with the goals of the enterprise. And here,
Right.
the example, it's mentioned a solution. So
Yeah.
organizational modeling is not the best choice for this question.
Because isn't a solution?
Yeah, it's not an organization, it's a solution.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to, that first part, it's what we have to use to ensure the identification of any required changes, and then that may have to be addressed. I keep getting stuck. It's like between two different things, but I'll stay with B.
With B?
You stay with what?
I would lean towards observation.
Actually, observation makes sense also, but I mean, of course, we can try to observe, but I feel that the B is the correct answer. If it was exam, I would have chosen B.
Okay,
but
let's try
this. To
sense.
ensure the identification of any required changes to the org structure. To ensure the identification of any required changes to the org structure.
Why would you say
Yes,
observation, Aaron?
Well, because like to me, observation is what you use to identify that the solution is providing the expected value.
Yeah.
Like you have the solution, it's modeled, but you have to observe it to actually see that it's doing
and it
what
says
it needs to do.
Evaluation solution performance for the observation, its purpose. Might be.
So what answer are we going with?
And now we just talked ourselves out of another one. Oh.
Doesn't matter. Either if you choose B, still it is Bob. If you choose C, still it is Bob Churchill.
And if we choose A, it's also Aaron.
Yeah.
Oh, and if we choose D, it's your last name, by the way, Durrani.
Ronnie.
That will not be the correct answer.
We can all agree that D is not the right answer. Okay.
I never say never. Sometimes Dina.
So what do we pick? Let's do this. The answer is actually staring at us, like in the face. I'm here, I'm here. Pick me, pick me, pick me.
How many people say B?
I will go with B.
Me too. And then the rest
Sure,
of you say
I'll go with
C?
B.
C.
That's
Okay, so it's
3.
3 for B.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay.
Well, actually, that was actually the correct answer.
Oh, okay.
And can
You
you
know
check
why?
the observation?
Then you check C, yeah, to check what is wrong
You
with that.
know, you know why it was the correct answer?
Because it's a question, organizational
They've
structure.
already told you.
Yeah, organizational structure.
Organizational structure. And that's why at the very beginning I told you, I said, when you hear the word organizational structure, you know you're dealing with people. The only thing that deals with people here
Mm.
is organizational modeling. Process deals with steps.
Yep.
Mhm.
And it is not.
Observation. Go ahead.
Your
Oh, sorry for the
observation.
interruption. And it is not only about the people, also, I mean, organizational modeling also it is about how it will support the change.
The roles and the
Or it might
responsibilities.
not be, you know, it might be needed to be changed to support the change.
Yep. So now the organizational structure has the roles. We know who is the president. Now we have implemented a solution that requires the final approval of the president. And the president is someone that goes on vacation all the time. Well, we're going to look at the organizational structure and model who exactly could take up that position in absentia. I don't know if you understand. So, yes, we think outside the box, but we also restrict ourselves to the information that's given. What goes with what? This goes with this.
And you all asked a very good question, like perhaps it might be helpful to remember which technique we can use it in which task. It might not be easy, but it makes a lot of sense to, you know,
Yeah.
to remember it that way, and which technique makes more sense to be used for which task.
Which task actually? There are some techniques in the BABOK. It's just that I can't remember where I got that documentation from. But I was able to ensure that or understand this particular technique deals with processes. This particular technique deals with people, roles, and responsibilities. So if I see a question in that light, I'll not even bother my head. I just move with it, like no stress, rather than thinking up multiple techniques and whatever might work. But in this question, yeah, it was brain tasking. That's the truth. Because if we actually want to identify in this particular scenario, we could also observe, well, like if we don't observe, how would we also know that something is wrong?
Right.
So that's also another context. But
But
because it's
observation is very costly generally. I mean, time-wise, and it is not always, there's a lot of constraints with the observation. If we can do it other ways, so better to not choose the costly one.
That's true. But since we already knew it was an organizational structure, we just stick to an organizational model.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Have we done the PERT calculation before? It's actually an estimation technique.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember solving 1 or 2 questions on this technique in my CBAP exam, by the way.
Oh.
Yep.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
95%
Have you seen the PERT
confidence
technique
level.
before? It's actually a very simple technique, by the way.
I thought she talked about it maybe, but it would have been quite a while at the beginning.
Okay.
Oh, C is the correct answer.
Really?
Optimistic, pessimistic, no. Is there any P, double P?
4 times
No.
4 times
likely.
most likely and divided by 6.
Pessimistic, okay, most likely.
Oh, it's from project management. I think I saw it there.
Mhm.
Maybe, yeah, maybe that's where I saw it as well, because I know I've seen it before.
That one makes the most sense
Optimistic.
because you actually have 6 items. I mean, if you count optimistic as 1, pessimistic, and then 4, most likely that's 6 divided by 6. So
Mhm.
The most
maybe that's
likely
a good way
time
to
M is
remember
weighted
it.
4 times.
So what option are we picking?
C, Charlie.
C.
Yeah, I'd agree with Charlie.
Okay. Really? Are you sure?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh. Okay. Well,
Yeah, correct.
yeah, well. So we just know we have our optimism, pessimism, plus 4 times most
4
likely,
times most likely.
all divided by 6.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep. Marie is using organizational charts as her primary tool for beginning organizational modeling to understand roles, responsibilities, and reporting structures that exist in her organization. Which of the following information would be most difficult to find using this tool? Marie's using organizational charts, like the organizational structure,
A,
as her primary tool.
influencers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
I would
sure?
say A.
we have the rest, Dina, on the organizational chart.
Right.
We have B, we
Yeah.
have C, we have D, but we don't have influencer.
Are you
Influencers.
sure?
Yeah.
We could
Yes.
take a look at influencers in 2 angles, like the people that we pay for social media.
Main
We could
word,
also have people that influence the decisions of people on the
Mhm.
Like the executive
Both.
assistants.
through, at least through this study group, we have learned that we should not think a lot during the exam and we should not change our answers.
Right?
Yeah, once you have made your mind, you should not change it.
I do like A because I think that would be the most difficult.
Right. Because the rest of them you can kind of figure it out through the
Organization.
be so hard,
organizational
yeah.
chart.
We could
Yep.
all be influencers. I don't know why.
I have watched some of the videos out there. They're not that influencing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that answer was glaring. Like, I wish CBAP would be this glaring.
Yes.
Okay, an up-and-coming financial institution is comparing its customer relations performance with respect to its competitors to identify best practices. It's comparing its customer relations performance with respect to its competitors to identify best practices. What technique is the institution using?
Charlie.
Yeah. I would say
Yes.
benchmarking.
Benchmark.
C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agree.
Yeah,
Me
yeah.
too.
That was easy peasy. Okay. Feels like we're gonna solve 25 questions today. Whoopee!
But
Lessons learned.
by the way, a question during the exam, do we get these kind of questions only based on the techniques?
You're gonna get case studies and they would bring in the questions from the techniques. Like they'll bring in technical questions from the case studies. So if you need to be able to identify the technique based on the case study, and you could have independent technique questions as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So the lessons learned technique can include a review of 3 of the following elements. Which one would not be included? A list of errors made by specific team members, the final solution, product, or service, positive or negative variances, root causes impacting performance results. Which one would not be included?
So we will review the solution, isn't it?
Yeah, it's A. I would not include A.
Yeah, you generally don't call out specific team members.
Yeah, we're not blaming.
Really? We need to learn from their mistake, you know. It's part of lessons learned.
You can rationalize it. It is just purely for pure seeking of learning.
Yeah, especially, yeah, the pure sake of learning. And we need to dig deep, like the root cause analysis. How did that error happen? Definitely happened because of somebody.
The employee might not be, agreed to do that.
Well,
Use,
I'm the project
use
manager.
the employee as a object to learn.
I don't think you'd put that in a document though.
Okay. So we're going with A, right?
A.
Yeah.
Yep. I like this word. It should never be a blame game.
No, exactly.
Yep.
And if there's even somebody to be blamed, voila, it's the project manager, not me. So
Perhaps in the near future, even you will not be able to use AI. There will be AI rights to not be violated.
exactly. So it's not a blame game. That's the absolute truth. It's a team. You're working in a team as a BA.
Yep.
You learn from everyone's mistakes. Even though, yes, everybody knows who made the mistake in the course of the project. That's the absolute truth. But that's how we grow. For subsequent projects, that would work on. We did this before.
Oh yeah, already today.
I think we picked post-mortem, right?
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So what was our answer?
C.
Retrospective. Yeah.
Okay. So, which of the following is not an element in item tracking technique? Metrics, item management, item identifier, item record is not an element in the item tracking technique. We actually need to go understand the techniques, because you might just be given an item tracking list in your exam and say, oh, what information is missing?
We go with A.
Okay.
I'm
What's
asking.
another? Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Ah, well, since you asked for my input.
C, Charlie, item identifier.
Oh, we need it, isn't it? Otherwise, how you can
We
track it?
do.
Yeah, you need
That's
to
how
have
you
the
can
item
track it.
identifier.
ID.
Yeah, without that, it might be very difficult to track.
And an item record sounds possible.
But is item identifier an element?
It's in
Like,
It's
sub
not an
according to
element.
So it has 3 elements: metrics, record, item management, and identifier is sub element.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Part of the record.
Yeah.
A record is one of, yeah.
Yeah,
A
it's
record
part of the
includes
record.
basically an identifier.
Right.
Okay, we went to check the answer. Well, so it's an attribute for item tracking.
Okay.
Yep. So what we want to do in item tracking is we want to ensure that we have details on how the item is going to be managed. we want to have records. The records is going to have the ID, or when what's the date the item came in, what are the like what does he have, blah blah blah, who signed it in, any specificities that deal with an organization. Then the metrics. And maybe some form of measurement or what's the quantity, or we're out, or like it just basically depends on what particular organization. So we got that. Jax is a BA interviewing a client regarding business rules related to discounts for car insurance. The customer started relating several if then scenarios. For example, if their age is 16 to 25, no discount. If their age is 26 to 35 and they have been accident-free for a minimum of 3 years, they will receive a 5% discount. But if they have other policies with us, they will receive an 8% discount. If they are from 36 to 50 years old and Jax was riding furiously trying to keep up, what would be an effective way to document this set of business rules?
Delta, decision table.
I
Okay.
agree. I agree.
Okay. Do we go with D?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So I like this. If we had a decision tree in this question,
That could be
what
also.
would have been the way to?
And it is both decision tree and decision table?
Yep, if we had both.
Perhaps both are the same thing?
Personally, they actually, a table is separate from the tree. A tree can be maybe it could be in diagrams. But
Like
personally, what I would have picked,
it is like
go
use
ahead.
case description with the use case diagram.
Mm-hmm.
Both are
Yeah,
the same thing, but different way to be represented.
exactly. So what I would have said, because this particular line says Jax was writing furiously, trying to keep
Mhm.
up. He could also be typing furiously. And a table would work if I could not be drawing furiously. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. Maybe just me. Okay, so we go to the next.
What you're trying to say that I mean, tables or descriptions are faster than the models.
Yes, most times, because you
That
have to
makes
be
sense.
detailed with diagrams and models. You have to be super careful.
Good
So at
point. Thank
times it's
you.
easy, it's better to write, but there are times some people prefer diagrams. Just understand what works best for your stakeholders, the people you're dealing with. If you're in an organization where they are heavy on diagrams, well, you gotta use the diagrams. Okay. A BA newly assigned to a project to develop a new order entry system has found the following partial data flow diagram. This is partial. It was developed by the previous BA on the project, and the new BA noted something missing from the diagram. What is most likely missing from the DFD? We have the data flow from receive order to the warehouse for a catalog request only has an output and not an input flow. So this is receive order. The data flow from receive order to the warehouse.
Receives a catalog request.
Only has an output and not an input flow.
Unless I'm reading this wrong, wouldn't the input be the arrows?
That
What?
should have.
So I'm trying
Yeah.
to read the thing. I would say the arrows pointing to. Oh,
Validating.
Can you scroll a little bit down? I can't see the last answer. Oh, okay, thanks. Maybe D, delta?
A data store for the product and any related information about products or inventory is missing.
Do you have other options, guys?
Hmm.
So we have
A bill of
D1 and
lading.
D2, and
A new order entry system. Well, they got the shipping instructions and shipping confirmation and shipping information.
can you zoom in the diagram a little bit? Thank you.
Okay.
What about the?
I agree. Maybe it was BD. You
BD.
got this. Delta.
Okay. A data store for product and any related information about product.
Or inventory is missing.
Yeah, I can't see it on the diagram.
Okay.
Because you've got the accounting there. You got shipping.
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So are we going with D?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. Because the entire process here, if we take a look at it, even though it was kind of confusing as to why we had two warehouses,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but in this particular scenario, well, if there is no inventory, how do they prepare shipment?
Mm-hmm.
So that was missing. That's a key part. So thank you for that. Okay, you have been asked to facilitate a brainstorming session to identify stakeholders' concerns. Which of the following is not one of the elements of brainstorming?
Approach, Charlie?
Yeah.
Session, wrap up, preparation. You sure it's approach? Are we sure?
So it's preparation session and red pop. No approach.
Yeah, I would probably go with
You
approach.
are checking the BABOK.
I'm not. I had no time for that.
Okay, let's do this. Check answer. Yeah, approach is a made-up answer.
Yeah.
So I checked the item tracking. It was a little bit cheating, yeah.
Okay. So estimation is a technique listed for which of the following tasks? Do we remember our BA tasks?
Yeah, all 30
Yes.
tasks.
All 30
So
tasks.
plan BA approach, plan stakeholder engagement, identify BA performance improvements, BA planning and monitoring.
Mm.
Mhm.
Estimation is a technique listed for which of the following tasks?
Do you need an estimation for the approach?
I
We
don't think
might,
so.
maybe. Who knows?
I want to say C, Charlie. Identify the business analysis performance improvements.
Okay.
A.
Any takers? A?
I'd say
That's weird.
A is
Okay.
weird. Okay.
Let's go with A. You ready?
No.
Hmm.
Wow.
Was correct. Good job, Aaron.
Yeah, he came with the ironic power. A.
well, the reason I picked it was because when you're making your plan, you're estimating how long things are going to
Going to
take.
take. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
So you don't have to estimate when you're doing your stakeholder engagement. That's
No,
people.
Do
that's
we
people.
identify business analysis performance improvements?
No,
That's
you're
not a
right.
task at all, isn't it?
No, it's not.
No.
Otherwise, it could make sense to be used in that particular task.
Right, because it's performance improvements, but we don't identify the business
Now,
analyst.
business analysis planning and monitoring, is that a task?
That is a knowledge area, more than a task.
Not a
Yeah,
task.
that's a good point.
Yeah, that is a good
So
point. Didn't
for
think about that.
tasks, firstly, try to eliminate what is a knowledge area.
Mhm.
Then also try to eliminate what is made up.
Yeah,
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
yeah, it will be much easier.
Yep. Let's go. It feels like we're going to finish. A lead BA has defined how decisions will be made about requirements and designs and has asked one of the junior BAs on the same initiative to create an initial list of potential stakeholder names who may need approval roles in a newly defined governance process. Which technique would you advise the BA to employ? The lead BA has defined how decisions will be made about requirements and designs and has asked a junior BA to create an initial list of potential stakeholder names who may
Who
need
need
approval roles
approval?
in the newly defined governance process. Which technique would you advise the BA to employ?
I will go with the easiest, and well, it's not necessary to be easy, but I will go with A.
Document analysis?
And I probably would say C,
I was gonna say C as well,
because
Charlie, because it's a
I could be,
process. Yeah.
yeah, and I could be wrong, but it helps me to identify who does what.
Well, the approval roles, 'cause
Yeah.
Yep.
Why don't we think creatively? It's a technique as well.
That's my everyday life, but I don't think it's right.
Exactly. Okay, so what option are we going with?
Charlie?
C, Charlie.
Let's see. Yep.
Ah,
Now,
brainstorming.
yeah.
Ah,
So, the
again, we get
process
hit with the
modeling
brainstorming.
deals with the process.
And
That's-
document the decision-making process.
So it's more like you have your process model, you have your flow from this to this to this to this. Now, if you're asked to do like a level 0 kind of, or let's say a flow diagram, a level 0 diagram now, it's not going to have so much details. You are not going to see approvals in there. So because process models deal with levels, it will not work in this context. So brainstorming, we need to identify the initial list of potential stakeholders who would need approval roles in the newly defined governance process, meaning the governance process has been defined.
Okay.
We need to gather them together. because dealing with stakeholders in a project is it's a key skill.
Okay.
Yep.
Not about that.
A BA wants to model all of the data stores, printers, forms, devices. In other words, everywhere data is displayed or shown. Which of the following data flow diagrams will accomplish that goal?
Physical data flow diagram,
Yeah.
because it's all devices.
Why isn't it logical?
Oh, logical is logical relationships, and is here in the questions they stated physical objects, like printer, forms, devices. That's why it's physical.
It's the hardware part of it.
Okay.
Sounds.
All right. Let's see if we're
That's
right.
good.
Option
So
A is very weird, isn't it?
Yep. So we're picking the physical.
Delta.
I'm sold.
That's all.
Sounds good.
Actually. Yeah, that was the answer. Because they already told us everywhere data is displayed or shown. The physical data flow diagram deals with anything that has to do with like just anything physical. All that deals with like the actual implementation of a system. It could include the hardware, also elements of the software, but you have core physical aspects of data. But the logical is more of on the system processes itself. It shows how the data flows in the system. And at times it would focus on the high level processes and data flow. And it would not even might not necessarily go deep into anything technical, just telling us, oh, this is the process, this is how the data flows from one entity to another entity. It just tells us how smoothly or how smooth running data is flowing. So, and context diagram is not even, should not even be on this list in the first place. So Kyle is a BA negotiating an SLA with a customer associated with a new product currently in development. What type of requirements is Kyle negotiating? An SLA with a customer associated with a new product currently in development. What type of requirement is Kyle negotiating? Do you remember the types of requirements we have?
Yeah.
All four.
Maybe solution.
I was thinking it would be non-functional.
But
I mean, you're talking about
A and D are a part of solution requirements.
Yeah.
And it is
functional.
about
Okay.
service
non-functional
level
is good
agreement.
too.
It's, I don't know, it's solution and transition, and it's one hierarchy, and functional, non-functional is a subtype of a solution.
Right.
So what answer are we going with?
I would pick solution.
I will
Okay.
take non-functional.
Okay.
Let's check.
What's coming to mind?
I mean, solution can be correct, but that's too broad. It is not about service level agreement, isn't it?
Let's not forget that non-functional requirements basically deal with how a system or a product should behave
Mm,
rather than what it should do.
That's quality attributes.
Yeah.
So how it should behave, like how fast should it load?
The
What's the
performance or quality
security,
attributes.
usability, reliability? So now,
I'll
So
agree with B.
an SLA with the customer. Let's not
Also
forget,
associated with the product currently in development.
with a customer. With a customer.
I always think about SLAs like in negotiating the contracts. It's your uptime, it's your performance metrics.
Mm-hmm.
To me, is what an
Yeah.
SLA is, which those are all your non-functional.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we should
That's
go
why I
with
went
D.
with D.
Okay.
That does sound.
Yep. I'm glad we're on the
Yep.
same page.
Non-functional requirements.
How well the
can
FR
you
must
can you check
perform.
solution for me? I want to understand what is wrong with it.
So solution requirements are actually a type of non-functional, but at times, like it's usually difficult to create a difference. At times it's easy to create a difference, but it could have element of functional requirements as well. But SLAs are purely
Non-functional.
non-functional requirements. Once you see an SLA, you don't even think twice. You just go straight to non-functional.
Mhm.
Okay.
Or perhaps you have already the solution requirements because it is under development. So while the product being developed, so we can also have a service level agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just different parts of I think of it as different parts of the contract. Like you have your scope of work, which is your functional requirements. Your SLAs
Yep.
are kind of your non-functional, and the whole thing, as you were saying, Irina, like they're both part of solution.
Solution. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what you can do again is just check online examples of functional requirements, examples of non-functional requirements. Then check examples of solution requirements and see some solution requirements can pass as functional, some can pass as non-functional. But just have it specifically. There are some requirements that are specific, they would always be non-functional.
Okay.
So Rob and Jackie are BAs representing two separate business units who will be collaborating on a cross-functional project in the near term. To facilitate communication between the two teams, they have taken the initiative to negotiate and document common definitions for terms that will be used during the course of the project. For terms that will be used during the course of the project. What have Rob and Jackie taken the initiative to create?
Common definitions.
The glossary.
Glossary.
Yeah, glossary.
Okay.
D,
Why not a data dictionary, by the way?
because that
Those
deals
aren't
with
common terms. So
right.
So a data dictionary kind of deals with data.
Yeah.
If you have a data flow diagram, for example, or something, you need somebody to be able to give you an explanation, or you need a documentation that would explain what is in your data diagram or something. So we have, which of the following is not a listed strength of developing a roles and permissions matrix? A, B, C, or D? A roles and permissions matrix
matrix.
promotes improved review of transaction history in that audit logs can capture details about any assigned authorities at the time, provides an opportunity for stakeholders to be involved in the planning process, provides documented roles and responsibilities for activities, provides procedural checks and balances as well as data security by restricting individuals from performing certain actions.
B, C, and D are all people related, where I think A is not. So I would probably say A.
Okay, who else? To me, A is an orphan in this entire question.
Mm-hmm.
Improved review of transaction history. Are we talking about transactions here? That's what I think. Let's see, and if it tells us that's incorrect, what?
The listed strength.
This is not listed as a key strength, and the matrix reflects rather than drives involvement.
Okay.
That audit logs can capture details about any assigned authorities at that time. Okay.
I don't like this. If Bob was here, he would say this is a goofy one.
It's a bad question.
Yeah. Let's see.
But
Okay.
how I'm just
Go back.
curious, like, I mean, when you think about it, like, how does a matrix actually provide an opportunity for stakeholders to be involved?
Right, it doesn't.
And in audit and roles and permission matrix can do be a good hand who had the authority of doing certain
Yeah,
things.
because in the planning, okay, for example, some projects you have planning done in the middle of the project. It might not be best practice. Taking, for example, there's an internet migration project I'm working on at the moment. Now, we are dealing with some other legacy systems, blah, 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 that we have to discover in the project what the capabilities or what the system can actually handle. So it might and it might not work, but this is really dicey. But see, Babok actually has a point too. So we'll stick to Babok. Sherry is carrying out analysis activities to identify potential problem areas for preventive action. She has described the issue to be addressed, collected data, and investigated the specific actions that contribute to the problem. She is now defining the corrective action that will prevent or minimize recurrence. What technique is Sherry applying?
What's the difference between A and D?
I was gonna say a risk analysis and management, because she's potential problem areas for preventive action. She described the issues to be addressed, collected the data, investigated specific actions that contribute to the problem. She's now defining the corrective action that will prevent or minimize the reoccurrence.
I would agree with you, Robin. And the others are all still exploring it, and she's looking to find the corrective action. So
is A and D the same thing though, like trend and pattern?
A is a root cause analysis. You're trying to find the whys. The truth is, fishbone analysis, you're also trying to find the root cause of the problem, but you're including a lot more elements. You're including processes. You're trying to look at systems. You're trying to look at people's actions. Cause and effect. What's the cause? What's the effect? Blah blah blah.
Okay.
So what option do we go with?
I would say B.
B, okay. Who else?
A.
Okay.
I'll say B.
Well, I'm picking B just because of you guys. But I think I already.
Arena.
So it was
the main
an RCA.
activities and the root cause analysis. Yeah. The other one's a
No,
risk.
I think risk analysis
deals
and
with
management, is it a technique?
Risk deals with areas of uncertainty, like you're not sure.
Yeah, even if it is a technique, let's consider it as a technique without the paying attention to the word, risks, uncertainties,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know about it. And if we don't know about something, how we can prevent it from reoccurring?
Yep.
Yeah, she was only defining, she's now defining the corrective action that will
Without
prevent
knowing
or
the root
minimize.
causes.
Can you click D just to
Mm.
see what it says?
D, right?
Yeah.
That can be a good technique, yeah.
There's no
Oh,
fishbone
there is no
analysis
technique. Okay.
technique.
But it's an element of cause. Yeah, okay.
It's a root cause analysis to
Mm,
identify and
It's
organize
an
problem.
element in that, but it's not an
RCA.
actual technique.
Yep.
Okay, thank
So
you.
the fishbone diagram has different names. Some people call it a cause and effect diagram. I don't know if
Mhm.
you guys have heard of Ishikawa before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So it could be, so you're trying to do a root cause analysis. How do you perform your root cause analysis? Like I said, when someone asked about that fishbone, I said, oh, it's doing a root cause analysis, but it's involving the actions of people, it's involving this, it's involving that. So it's just all encompassing, but you're still doing a root cause analysis.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So
I
next we have
understand
to,
my issue that I do
which
not.
technique is used to determine the underlying cause of performance variance?
That is again repeated.
Underlying
Underlying
root cause.
cause.
We solved this question before, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yes, we did.
Root cause.
Okay.
Yep, root cause.
And the final question for tonight. Maggie is interviewing a group of personnel from the call center help desk. She wants to know why the SLA is not being met. Since the problem includes a great amount of human interaction, which facilitation tool will be most suitable? Is there an analysis called a fault tree analysis?
I don't
If I go
remember there
A,
being one.
That's automatically out.
Yep. Mind maps? I don't
Really?
remember. No, I don't think so.
Why not? I mean, if there are many,
Mind maps?
I mean, there are great amount of human, and so there you have a lots of inputs.
And if I
Human
could just see into
interaction.
their minds, I know why there's a lot of mistake.
Right. Can't read
My
their minds.
superpowers, yeah.
Unless if you want to go again with the root cause analysis, I mean 5 why.
The 5 whys, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a great amount of human interaction, so I'm wondering if it's supposed to be observation.
that's what I would
Like he's
go with.
interviewing a group of personnel from a call center. Yeah.
Again, we can do the brainstorming using the mind map, perhaps.
So what are we going with?
I will go with the brainstorming.
You want the brainstorming?
Yes.
Team activity.
Really? Really, really, really? We could always find fault. Like this call center personnel was a pain in the neck. Maybe, just maybe. So what are we going with?
No. I say A.
I will say
Okay.
D.
You would say what?
Delta.
Delta,
He
yeah.
wants D.
I think Delta.
Mind maps.
Mind maps. That's amazing. Okay. So let's go with A. Then we could now go with D later on. But da 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 da
5
da
whys.
da.
Okay.
What?
That was given.
The human
Sorry.
interaction element is the
Interaction.
key to using 5 whys, which is one of the simplest facilitation tools.
Wait.
Interesting.
Yep.
It doesn't really. It's another goofy one for me. I would probably observe to see what since it's human interaction, I'd want to see what's going on. But
You know why observation would not work in this situation? The fact that I'm there observing, they could change their attitude,
They can
and I would
change the way
not
that they're acting.
be able
Yes,
to see what the problem is.
okay.
that's true.
But if I pick a call record, okay, this particular individual called at so and so time. You were rude to the person. Why were you rude? Oh, the
Yeah,
customer
that makes
said
sense.
this. Why did the customer say this? Did you find out why? Oh, do you know what the customer is going through? You dig deep. It will get to a point when you keep asking the right whys, not just any kind of whys. You would get to the root of the problem.
Okay.
Yep.
Actually, the answer is very obvious. I don't know how we missed it. It says that she's interviewing. She's interviewing
she's
to
interviewing.
know why. To know why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She wants
Well,
to know
that's how it
why.
is. But I would say this was amazing.
It was
Thank you
great.
so much.
Yeah, I liked it
Well,
with the
thank
techniques.
you.
That was fun.
Yes, it was. That was good. It was good to do.
Thank you so much, guys. And
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yes,
And
thank you.
we wish, okay, you will be having your next class next week. Hopefully I'm there. Maybe, maybe not. Thank you so much, guys, and do
All
have a
right.
great night or a great day.
You too.
Thank you. Good
Hey,
night,
Thank
thank
everybody.
you.
you.
Good time.
You're
Good night,
welcome. Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Have a good night.